Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to hopefully finish this North Korean campaign. And as you can see, I'm sitting in a new cockpit.
Avenger 7-1.
This is not the
runway 20 right, hold short, contact departure.
This is not the standard Falcon Elite Force cockpit. This is the ICE cockpit, and I was provided this from one of my beautiful subscribers, Morovi, if I pronounce him correctly. So he basically sent me this cockpit to check it out. And as you can see, it's a nicely widescreen, 16:9 ratio. I'm running in full HD and it's looking really amazing. I love this effect, which is currently over this RWR here on my left. It's looking very great. And also the radars and the displays, they seem to be used from the standard like default one, but other than that, it's looking really nice. I love it. I don't see like nothing special here. I check the cockpit. It's looking pretty standard to me, but these knee pads definitely, they are different. Although the content is like the standard, they seem to be quite different. And what I noticed is this cockpit layout. Restart up procedure, parking brake. Okay, so that's the checklist for the ramp start. Ramp start checklist still continues. I don't know how to switch it. Enemy threat ranges. Okay, so this is the chart with the information about, for example, SA-10. You know, the radar is flap lit. The range is from 2.7 nautical miles to 32 miles. Hit probability very high. Minimum altitude 640, maximum altitude 66,000 feet. And you are going to have some. Okay, now I see how it's work. Okay, I was afraid that I won't be able to make it like back. But as you can see, I will go through this knee pads during the flight. Okay, this lamp or light quality cockpit, light utility cockpit. Okay, so this lamp here is quite new, and also the dials here. I have to say they look like very different. For example, this clock, it's looking different than before. Emergency power unit fuel, it's always like 100%, never changes. The fuel gauge is also different, which reminds me that I need to change this fuel quantity, and let's use this wing first, just to use the fuel from inside the fuel tanks. Also, these side panels are quite different, like they seem to be reworked slightly. So let's get into the air. Enough chit chat. I will go through all this all the stuff in the air. So let's taxi first.
Avenger 7-1, request taxi.
Avenger 7-1, taxi, runway 20 right, hold short, contact departure.
Okay, 20 right, that's this runway here. It's kind of foggy here, and we have a really bad weather, but definitely this will be much better once we cross the cloud layer. I'm always looking forward to fly over the clouds. It's really nice. And I love this 16:9 ratio. It's really amazing. Now I don't need to switch that often into the 3D cockpit. I will check the 3D cockpit anyway, just to see how it looks like. But let's make it now. It's looking pretty default one, I have to say. Although slightly the RWR is reworked. Other than that, maybe these displays are kinda more accurate. Data entry display is the same. It seems pretty much the same, so no big changes done here. Let's go for the
Avenger
takeoff.
7-1, request clearance for departure.
There is one aircraft coming for the final.
Avenger 7-1, KME tower, position and hold, runway 20 right.
Okay, so he's going for the left runway, hopefully. Otherwise he will land up on my back. It's F-16. Okay, he's going for the left runway. So still quite busy here.
Avenger 7-1, KME tower, you are cleared for takeoff, runway 20 right, depart heading 245.
Okay, depart heading 245. So
Avenger
let's go for the
7-2,
takeoff.
KME tower, position and hold, runway 20 right.
Altitude,
Avenger
altitude,
7-2,
altitude,
KME tower,
altitude,
you are cleared for takeoff, runway 20 right, depart heading 245.
Okay, the 3D cockpit looks like... I don't know, I don't remember the default one.
Avenger
Maybe this
7-1,
is like
KME departure,
looking
resume on navigation.
much better now. I can't compare it. Okay, meantime, I just received clearance to continue my own navigation, so let's head directly to the steer point number 2,
Airborne.
which is like 120 miles in the distance. Okay, 2 is already airborne as well. Okay, that's very nice, I have to say.
Avenger 7-2, KME departure, resume on navigation.
So is it possible to lock the targets on this 3D cockpit here? Okay, very easily. It's like in the 2D cockpit without any problems. Other than that, for example, if you want to for example, press the master arm button or anything else, you have to go into the 2D cockpit because this 3D cockpit is not clickable. So you don't have the mouse cursor and you can't click on any buttons. It's like static, but you can see that the movement between the cockpit is like very smooth. So that's really great news. Okay, slowly going into the cloud layer. Let's cross this like quite rapidly. Just want to be on the other side as soon as possible. Okay, we are in. Reflections on the canopy. They are part of the cockpit, and probably these are also reworked.
Be advised, hostile launch activity detected. Bullseye 265, 120 miles.
Okay, quite thick cloud layer, I have to say. Okay, so first let's talk about the mission. So the war is almost over. My mission for today is to do an OCA strike against Shenyang Airport. It's not, Shenyang, right? Shenyang Air Base, which is all the way on in the China. Basically, is the Chinese air base. Still a couple of Q7s, some Su-27, some J, or I should say like J-10 or J-7 probably. It's a mixture of a couple of aircraft still there, so hopefully they won't react somehow like drastically and won't took off like all of them. Just because it's a really long journey, if I change to the initialization point, you can see it's like 340 miles still to the IP point and 340 miles back. So it's like 700 miles. This flight will be quite long. That's why I'm carrying 3 fuel tanks. I'm carrying 6 Durandals just to be able to destroy the runway like completely. and I've picked up only 2 AMRAAMs just on my wingtips. I skipped the secondary pylon. I just wanted to have like as light aircraft as possible and to fly as fast as possible just to be able to reach that target. So I expect my profile of the flight to be like 25,000 at least feet, and once I drop down once I jettison the external fuel tanks, I'd like to be somewhere above 30,000 feet, definitely. So hopefully I'll be able to fly like so. Let's switch off the lights. So that were the lights. I don't have the jammer, so just master arm on. Let's set up the weapons. So I'm carrying 2 AMRAAMs C4 variants. Nothing more. And 6 Durandals. Let's set up them for the CCIP drop. And that's it. Maybe let's set up the bingo as well. I can see that the color of this DED or data entry display is different than before. It's not that green. It's more like white green. It's very like light green. Like it wasn't that before. It was the same green, like for example on the RWR. Now this green is like much lighter, but it looks really amazing. I have to say I love this cockpit. Okay, 22,000. Let's level up. My speed is not high, so let's fly on 5 degrees AOA. Okay, the bingo. I'm going to set up 9,100 just to check the fuel amount at this stage.
Avenger 7-2, rejoin formation.
Okay, I can see that also the seat looks different than in the standard.
Avenger 7-2, on my way.
So not just the cockpit itself, but also the overall look, like this frame on the canopy, for example. Maybe also the wings are different. I'm not sure whether they were looking like this. Definitely looking much better. And there is complete chart of the Falcon theater, all the airfields. I can see the Italian airfields, their Tekken channel, Tekken range, instrument landing system frequency, for example, if you want to use it, runway, orientation of the runway. I don't know what these red markings are. There is a red marking and an exclamation mark. We'll need to check it later on. Runway elevation, that's very interesting. So you know the elevation of the runway. Very interesting. For example, Brindisi Casale 0, so it's at the sea level. Glide slope altitude when it starts, it's like 2,000 feet. Then runway threshold location, exact location for one runway. Second, I should say like left, right, and then the opposite side. So you got like complete GPS coordinates for the threshold of the runway. Then there are these Sicily runways, or I should say like airfields. Wait a moment, it's not completed. And so there are also the Albanians, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia continued airfields. FYROIM, what does it mean? Ohrid Airbase. Ohrid Airbase is somewhere here, and this should be the Macedonia or something like that. Yeah, this country, definitely, this Ohrid is part of the... I don't know how to pronounce this country correctly, so apologize for all the people from this country, but in Slovak we say it like Macedonia. In English, I don't know, should be also like Macedonia, but I don't want to pronounce something incorrect and to be rude at someone, so apologize for that. Then a couple of Greece runways or airfields, Hungarian ones, Szeged-Tashar, and also the Montenegro, Podgorica, Ivangrad, Gorazde. So that's very interesting. If I go more to the right, there is also Serbian runways, where basically the enemies are taking off, but you can then land there as well, as you can see, and Slovenian air bases. Runway with the red color is not to be preferred, so rather go from the other side. So Sloven Gradec, for example, don't go onto the runway 16, rather go onto runway 34. And if there is an exclamation mark, that means that this you should approach with caution. There are some obstacles on glide path. It might be either some hill or maybe some building. There are usually also some buildings, quite high buildings might be in the glide slope, so definitely pay attention to that before landing. Nice picture here also for the runways. Basically, you should put your center line or your flight path marker in between these two symbols and basically hit your gears at this location. There should be also a very similar chart. Let me check my altitude, okay? Just a moment. Okie dokie, let's check the South Korean air bases. A couple of airstrips also included, which is very neat, very nice. Seosan, Seoul International. Okay, Japan, Kadena. Yeah, definitely. You can. It's not visible here, but it's somewhere on the right. Then there is this North Korean airfields. North Korea still continues. Koksan airstrip. Looking for the Pyongyang, but it's called Mirim here, so there is a Mirim Pyongyang East airbase. Okay, so that's the main airfield here. You can see also a couple of runways are preferred, and a couple of them you should be really pay your attention during the final approach. And there is also the Chinese, the Shenyang, for example, which I'm going to attack right now. It has like 2 runways, you can see it here. The elevation of the airfield is 100 feet only. It's very interesting, very low. It's somewhere here. I don't see it on this map, but should be somewhere in this People's Republic of China. And also the Nakhotka airbase, very famous for me. It's also not visible here, but it's a part of the Russia territory. So it's the airfield which taught me a lot. It's protected by 2 SA-5s and 1 SA-10, so it's quite problem to get there and do my job. Okay, anyway, so let's check the fuel amount. 12,000 almost. Okay, let's check also this snippet. Seems very neat. So first, it's a cockpit layout. This has to do something with these ramp start checklists. You can see the cockpit map area. So basically, if you want to find, for example, this parking brake, it's on the cockpit area number 2, which is the left panel here. If I go there, I can see that parking brake is here. For example, I can't activate it in the flight, but it's a parking brake which basically brakes your wheels when you are on the ground. So you can go through this checklist basically before the takeoff. Maybe I will do a separate video about this, just going through this checklist just to see whether I'm following it or whether I'm doing something wrong in this ramp start. Still continuing, and that's the end of the ramp start. Enemy threat ranges, I was going already through this, so basically you can see some Soviet brands here, and also, for example, the Patriot, Nighthawk, Stinger, Skyguard, also some NATO counterparts for this Soviet or Russian systems, so you can see also the ranges, the altitude min-max, and the range min-max basically, and also the probability to kill, so very low, SA-2, SA-3 low, very low, for example, SA-5, SA-6 medium, SA-7 low, SA-8 medium high, SA-9 medium, SA-10 very high, so I know it. SA-11 high, SA-13 high, SA-14 medium, SA-15 very high, for example. It's a kinda evolution of the SA-6. It's carrying the SA-6 is carrying 3 missiles, and it has like separate radar. This SA-6, the straight flush, but the SA-15 is a combined on one vehicle. It has like 4 missiles, and each vehicle has like separate radar, so it's very mobile, very easy to deploy, and it should be quite dangerous, as you can see. So the hit probability very high. SA-17 high, SA-16 high, SA-19 medium high, Skyguard medium high, Patriot high only, like low. Okay, like it's very old and primitive system, but you can see the ceiling 100,000 feet, so it's basically you can even shoot into the space with that. It's quite big missile. For example, the Hawk on the other side, or Hawk on the other side is quite small missile, so you can see it's a short range defense system. And Stinger is the optical, very short range basically. And there are some guns as well. So for example, Shilkas ZSU-23, but this is like the ZU-23. It's the not mobile. It's just double the 23mm cannon, for example. Couple of formations diagrams. Also the spacing is visible here. So that's the spread formation, arrowhead, box formation. Very nice. I can maybe use this. Wedge formation, trail formation, fluid 4, okay, stacked formation, ladder formation, wait a moment, something's here to my RWR, okay, it's just F-16. Here we are refueling, so that's the checklist basically, or the procedure how to take it. Tanker altitude in 1,000 feet.
030, 60 miles, 25,000.
Note tanker overtake speed over 1. Okay, how to approach basically the tanker. So that was the refuel chart. Very nice, very good. And I have a company on my radar. It's a MiG-29. No, that's not him.
Chalice 3, Avenger 7-1, declare.
That's the F-16 probably.
Chalice 3, contact confirmed hostile. Ideas MiG-29.
No, that's the MiG-29.
1-1, engaging, bearing 035, 60
It's
miles,
flying cold
25,000.
because there must be some AMRAAM already flying into him. I have to be careful anyway. He's climbing. As you can see how he's climbing. I don't want to use the afterburner just to increase my speed, because I will need that fuel, but it seems that he has been hit. Okay, there is a splash in the distance, so probably this F-16's got him. They are in 22 and 25 and 27,000 feet. And there is no MiG-29. Okay. So still like 200 miles to the target. I'll be using, or I'm going to use the time compression, just make it to sure that the situation is okay.
Chalice 3, Avenger 7-1, request vector to threat. Avenger 7, Chalice 3, I don't have any targets.
Okay, so the situation is clear. I can see it's like 200 miles to the target, something over 200, 207 miles. I'll be there in 23 minutes. When I look at the fuel amount I'm carrying currently, excuse you. I'm currently carrying 11,300 pounds of fuel, and my current fuel consumption is 5,500, so I should be able to fly like this. If nothing changes, I should be able to fly like this for 2 hours. That means that I'm pretty okay with the fuel. Let's make it like the time compression, just to save some time. I still need to be pretty cautious with the enemy fighters. As you can see, I wasn't expecting this MiG-29 to be here. It's quite a surprise for me that still the enemy is active, but it is what it is. So maybe also the Chinese fighters might be taking off. Hopefully, I'm carrying enough AMRAAMs for them. Okay, let's check the map. I should be somewhere over. Okay, I'm in the Korean Bay. I'm leaving the North Korean airspace and I'm entering the Chinese airspace right now. So if I do remember it correctly, there was an SA-10 protecting one of these airfields, maybe both of them. One should be destroyed, but one should be still active. Hopefully it's not the Shenyang airfield, which is protected by the SA-10. Hopefully it's the Liuhe airfield, which is more to the east. We'll see. Okay, 80 miles, 85 miles, 9 minutes to the target. Still very cloudy, so I won't be able to see the runway that early, but that's okay. I still need to go for the CCIP bombing quite low, so I'll be flying over the runway anyway. Oh, SA-10, wait a moment. So probably I won't be able to reach the target. Somehow this airfield has been already destroyed. I was checking it before the flight and the runway was like repaired. The status of the runway was repaired. And now I'm pretty sure that this SA-10 has been destroyed before. So they must like resupply a new radar here. Still waiting for the missile to see it, but nothing's there. Okay, I'm going to reduce the altitude anyway, so let's fly into the 15,000 feet, just into the more denser air, so I'll be able to defeat this missile much easier than in the 26,000 feet. I need to stay above the clouds, but ideally in the as minimum high as possible, or altitude as possible. Okay, it's like 20,000 feet, that's quite high still. Okay, maybe it's time to fly below the clouds. Let's do that. I will see the missile launch, probably also from below the clouds. It's quite complicated. I wasn't expecting this SA-10 to be here, and I wasn't expecting this thick cloud layer at 20,000 feet as well, so that's not very good news for me. I don't know whether I should like continue this mission or to repeat it with the harms first and then go with SA-10 active again. And I'm pretty sure there is a missile launch already. The lock is quite long, so let's fly defensive already. It will be just a short time and the missile will be here. It's very fast missile, so I'm still in the clouds, so far the cloud layer is like 10,000 feet thick.
Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, 8,000 feet to the ground, still inside the clouds. I don't see the missile. Just, okay, I'm out. Nice storm is going here. Whoa, what a clouds. It will be very funny to just see the runway, just to identify it. I'm really afraid of these SA-10. The minimum altitude is like 600, so I need to fly very low just to beat this missile.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
So 40 minutes, 40 miles of flying top 3 level, or 3 top level, I should say. Oh, it's definitely a bad idea. This will be really impacting my fuel consumption. And not just the way there, also the way back.
Altitude.
You can't simply climb over the airfield and fly home.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
The range of the SA-10 is quite big, so
altitude. 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 Altitude.
I definitely wasn't expecting that bad weather.
Altitude.
That clouds, that SA-10.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Okay, let's fly into this 300 feet.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Okay, like so. Okay, there is no spike from the SA-10 so far. I expect some spiking as soon as I get closer. Okay, it's time to drop the external fuel tanks. SA-10 here. Getting to go evasive now. There must be a missile in the air already.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
This will be anything else but easy mission.
Altitude. Altitude.
And I was really hoping for some easy mission at the end of the war.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
By the way, it was me who planned this mission. I was just going through all the airfields, all the enemy airfields, checking for the aircrafts. And as soon as I saw this Shenyang airfield, I thought to myself that I have to go to destroy it, basically.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Avenger 7-2, go trail.
Okay, slowly approaching the IP
2,
point,
going trail.
or the initialization point. Interesting spike. Okay, there's a city. In the distance, let's change to the steer point number 5, which is the target steer point
Avenger
already.
7-2, SAM launch north.
Chaff flare.
Okay, there was a SAM launch coming from that city.
Avenger 7-2, request permission to engage.
Definitely go and destroy it.
Avenger 7-2,
Altitude.
weapons free.
Altitude. Altitude.
I'd like to drop like
altitude.
2,
Altitude.
Wilco.
Altitude.
3 Durandals
Avenger
on the...
7-2, SAM launch
Altitude.
northeast.
Altitude. Altitude.
Oh.
Avenger
Altitude.
7-2, SAM launch
Altitude.
northeast.
Altitude.
How the SAMs
Altitude.
are seeing me in
Altitude.
such fog.
Altitude.
It's the infrared seeker,
Altitude.
so
Altitude.
Avenger
Altitude.
7-2,
Altitude.
SAM launch
Altitude.
northeast.
another one.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Northeast again.
Altitude. Altitude.
SA-10.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
SA-10 still
Altitude.
seeing me,
Altitude.
although I'm like
Altitude.
scratching the
Altitude.
ground.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Getting to climb a little bit.
Altitude. Altitude.
Where is the runways?
Avenger 7-2, SAM launch northeast.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Bombs away.
Altitude. Altitude.
Bombs
Altitude.
away.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Okay,
Altitude.
SN-10 is spiking me, but
Altitude.
so far...
Altitude.
Okay, there's a missile
Altitude.
in the air.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
If it is a missile, or I don't know.
Bombs away.
It was a missile.
Warning. Pull up. Pull up. Warning. Warning.
It was very quick. Okay, let's see my wingman. I can't switch to him. Let's end up the mission. Let's see the outcome. Hopefully at least one runway has been destroyed. Definitely I need to fly there once again. Okay, 3 air-to-ground kills, so basically all 3 runways were hits. And also my wingman, he released all the... Hopefully... Mission is excellent, so we were successful. He's flying away. Maybe I will jump into him and try to bring him home. 1st Air Defense Battalion SA-10 without the radar, so there is no radar here. But still it was still active, very interesting. And Shenyang runway, okay, we've both hit the same runway. Very shame. That's why you want to fly with normal wingman, not with the AI wingman, so you can discuss the runways before you take off. Let's jump into him. I'm gonna keep myself as low as possible all the time. Hopefully he's not in 10,000 feet. There might be already a missile in the air. Oh, he's really in 5,000 feet. That's really good idea. I think I will explode in a second.
Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Altitude, 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 pull up, altitude, 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 altitude.
Oh, that was a missile. That was a missile.
Altitude, altitude.
It just hit behind me.
Altitude.
I was basically leaking that ground.
Altitude, altitude.
SA-10 still active, still looking at me.
Altitude, 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 altitude,
I was, or he was lucky that I jumped into the cockpit.
altitude, altitude,
Otherwise, he will
altitude,
fly in 5,000
altitude,
feet all the time.
altitude, altitude, altitude,
Okay, there's no spike, finally.
altitude, altitude,
Again, a spike.
altitude, 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 altitude.
Okay, these hills will definitely save me.
Altitude, altitude.
If there is a valley behind them, I can fly low into it.
Altitude, altitude.
Just for a couple of seconds.
Altitude, 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 altitude.
Okay, I think I'm safe.
Altitude, altitude,
I don't like to say something like this, that I'm safe, but hopefully in this scenario I'm okay.
Altitude, 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 altitude.
Okay, maybe I can climb already. There shouldn't be any...
Altitude, altitude.
Okay. It doesn't even have the program selected. Okay, still 2 AMRAAMs, 0 Durandals, and fuel is okay. Maybe he's still flying with, yeah, all the 3. Let's check the fuel amount. He still has some fuel in the external underwing fuel tanks, just because he was using the fuel from all 3 together. Okay, let's increase my thrust a little bit while I'm climbing, just to... So the clouds are into the top layer is in 20,000 feet, SA-10 spiking me. Okay, let's go back to the ground. It seems that I'm still not far away enough. There is no warning that the missile is in the air. Basically, this flap lip radar is not providing any guidance to that missile, like, so my RWR will be able to identify that there is a guidance guidance command to that missiles, like with the other SAM systems. This is very advanced system, so you don't have any information that the radar is locking you, and also is providing some guidance commands to the missile. For the other radars, like for example the SA-6, you exactly know when the radar is just seeing you, whether it's just looking at you, and when it's like guiding the missile at you. Okay, hopefully it's okay. Let's continue my climb. Still not okay, but I hope they won't be shooting the missile now. I should be flying away from that circle already. I just want to see something like further than... Okay, inside the storm clouds. Very nice looking cockpit, I have to say. I love it. Okay, that's me. So no external view right now.
Chaff flare.
I was lucky with that missile. It hit a couple of meters behind me. Very lucky. maybe a couple of seconds in that 5,000 feet altitude, and I won't be able to reach the ground level on time. Okay, finally we got through these clouds. I feel much better now.
Chalice 3, Avenger 7-2. Request vector to threat. Avenger 7, Chalice 3. I don't have any targets.
Oh, he dropped the hard points as well. I can see, okay, now he's in a clean configuration and talking about the hard points. Okay, so as soon as I drop the underwing external fuel tank, I should be able to climb into the 30,000 feet, maybe even higher. And as soon as I jettison the undercarriage fuel tank, it will be much better. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm okay already.
Chalice 3, Avenger 7-2. Picture. Avenger 7-2, Chalice 3. Picture clear.
So it's like 160 miles to the South Korean borders to fly over this North Korea. I'm somewhere here right now. So definitely out of the SA-10 range. Okay, 240 miles to the home plate. Still something inside the fuel tanks. I mean inside the external fuel tanks, not the internal. Still there is a couple of gallons, so let's use it all. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident, pretty safe now. I'm almost at the South Korean borders, 200 miles to the home plate. So I'll be there in, let's say, 20 minutes, according to the flight control computer. Okay, fuel tanks empty. 7,100. Probably also the other fuel tank under my belly is also empty. We'll see once I switch it to it. So that were these first fuel tanks. Let's see okay, it's also empty. So jettison it as well. And I basically like this clean configuration.
Chalice 3, Avenger 7-2. Request vector to threat. Avenger 7, Chalice 3. I don't have any targets.
Okay, 7,000 pounds of fuel. My current fuel consumption is 4,200. So I should be able to fly like this for entire hour, and it's just 15 minutes to my base. So let's use the time compression once again.
Avenger 7, Chalice 3, be advised. Hostiles bearing 340, 20 miles. Fury 6-1, engaging MiG-29 bearing
okay.
335, 25 miles.
So again, there is a MiG-29, but a couple of F-16 between me and him, so definitely I won't be able to pick him up. Okay, there is a missile in the air. Let's go back to base.
2, Pitbull.
He's already dead. So there was a MiG-29 when I was flying to the target. There was another MiG-21 when I was flying back from the target, but always a couple of Allied fighters around me, so I've been unable to pick him up. Very unfortunate. Should be like 2 kills for me, but it is what it is. You need to be fast if you want the kill.
Avenger 7-2, inbound for landing.
Avenger 7, hey, me, approach, take spacing and continue inbound.
Okay, I don't know the runway yet.
Avenger 7-2, descend to 2000, maintain 260 knots.
Altitude,
Turn left heading
altitude.
125, vectors to final, runway 20 right.
125. Much better visibility here than in the... Oh, maybe not.
Avenger
It's almost the
7-2,
same.
perform landing check. Avenger 7-2, descend to 2000, maintain 250 knots. Vectors to final, runway 20 right.
Okay, 20 right, so it's the same runway I was taking off, and also the same direction. Okay, F5s. It's 1 o'clock. Much better visibility here than in the China.
Avenger 7-2, turn right to final approach course 200, slow to approach speed.
Avenger 7-2, copy. Turning right to final approach course 200. Slowing approach speed. Okay, gear is down. Let's try to find the runway now. Okay, I can see the airfield probably, or no, it's not airfield. Now I can see the airfield. Runways are slightly to the left. Seems like that.
Be advised, hostile launch activity detected. Bullseye 265. Good morning, Avenger 7-2, hey, me tower, cleared for landing, runway 20 right, check gear down.
Avenger 7-2, copy, cleared for land, runway 20 right. Gear is down. Quite slow and quite low. Let's increase my speed a little bit. Okay, so at least one F-16 was able to return from this mission and missile as well. I was quite lucky. I jumped into this wingman. Otherwise he will be basically killed in, let's say, a couple of seconds. Okay, take this exit. So, perfect mission, excellent rating. I'm quite happy, but still one of the runways is still intact, so maybe I will take for the next mission, I will return there with 3 Durandals under one of my wing and the harm under the secondary wing. But I don't know what to, now when I'm thinking about it, how to destroy this SA-10 if it has like no flaplit radar. Will be very interesting. Okay, so I'm back home with still 5,400 pounds of fuel, so maybe I'll be able to fly this with even without the centerline fuel tank. But it's always better to carry a little bit more fuel than you will need, rather than landing as a glider. Let's park it here, and let's end up this mission. Very nice mission, very bad weather, so let's see how it goes. So the result is already known. Basically the airfield is still intact. And it seems that this SA-10 is here. No, it's SA-2 only. So there must be either another SA-5, okay, also destroyed. So there is some SA-10 somewhere here, like not marked on the map, so definitely no intel for this. I was hoping it's here on this Liuhe airfield, but seems like it's directly here on the Shenyang, so a little bit complication for me. Let's save it. It was quite a long mission. I'm still waiting for these engineers to repair a couple of bridges in the Pyongyang so I can move forward. As you can see, it's already closing to the victory. Slowly but steadily. All the bridges are basically destroyed, so maybe that's the result of the AI planning missions. Basically destroys all the bridges in the North Korea, and then you have to fix them one by one, slowly, in order to move forward. So that's also destroyed, this is also destroyed, so if I want to go up here with both the units, I need to fix like 2 bridges. It's very complicated. But as you can see, very big part or big portion of the North Korea is already liberated, or I should say occupied by the South Korea, but it's hard to say whether it was the occupation or the liberation, because no people were voting for the Communist Party in the North Korea, so they simply put themselves into the government. But that's the politics. I'm not going to comment it here. So that's all from my side, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, have fun, take care, and bye.